morning with a cirrus in the sky was a sign of a change in weather, but before that, we enjoyed the soft, warm light of the rising sun, cutting the area with long shadows on the morning dew. We had breakfast in a little hurry, because the clouds were gathering in the sky and we wanted to break camp before the first drops of rain. After a few hours, the warm colors of the early morning gave way to the cold shades of oncoming rain, but the depth of greenery of the surrounding forests against the background of the darkening sky looked spectacular. Narrow and steep forest paths did not leave much choice. We could only move forward, hoping that this day would be devoid of the attractions of the previous one. Slowly traversed the kilometers of the Lapus mountain range. Here and there, the treetops were catching bundle of clouds, while we've been constantly stuck to the points of the previously marked route, until we came across a path which, in the rainy weather that finally came, turned out to be an obstacle that we did not want to force.
This is what real exploring looks like. Our Garmin navigation doesn't show any track, but when I was watching on the Google Maps, on the satellite view, I saw a road here. So I decided to put a waypoint on my map and try it, but this would be doable definitely if there was no rain, but in the rainy weather it's just too dangerous for one car. Have a look at this road. It's muddy. It's it looks really deep. So I don't think it would be a good idea to go there. So we need to go back and find something else. Yep. Rain changes everything. Ooh.
Of course, it was not something that could not be driven through, but taking into account the fact that we travel in a quite heavy expedition car and we do not do cross-country rallies, we do try to avoid situations that would require advanced recovery operations, at least where it's possible. Despite, or maybe especially due to the solo traveling, we always try to look for safe solutions. That's why we decided to add a bit of a road and return to our trail from a different side. Traveling the next kilometers among the hills covered with green carpet of forests and meadows, in the Dragomiresti area we have found a perfect place for a quick meal. Taking advantage of the momentary break in the rainfall, observing the natives with similar curiosity as they did at us, we took a single burner gas cooker from the handy glove box in the left rear fender of our Defender and boiled water for a quick freeze-dried meal. While Viola was cooking in the meadow by the river, I picked up the drone and took a few shots of the surrounding hills.
Even at the very start, I believed it all. Held on to something invisible, but you were always holding your breath, hiding your love. There's a beautiful world outside of these walls.
Opinions about freeze-dried meal differ probably. we know from our own experience that you can find better or worse when it comes to taste. But I will always say that it is an excellent option for a quick, warm and caloric meal everywhere where it is not possible to stay longer and set up a decent kitchen to cook something. For Kira, this break was also something she needed. A respite from the constant jolts, shocks and inconveniences while traveling through the mountain trails. Taking advantage of another break in the rain, we decided that it would be a good idea to take a quick shower, because in the place where we planned to stay for the night, there was no stream or lake nearby visible on the map. Defender is equipped with a heat exchanger through which the water sucked by a pump installed inside is passed. You can find more about the water system on my channel in the material where I explain its operation while troubleshooting some problems that arose during my trip to Norway and later to Albania. In order to additionally protect the pump, I added a water filter at the end of the hose and immersed it in the stream. Kira, who normally likes water very much, somehow did not feel the need to take a bath. As it turned out, unfortunately, garage conditions are one thing and reality is another. The water pressure left a lot to be desired. It would be hard to wash your hands with those few drops, much less take a bath. After a few minutes of fighting, the water began to flow a little more briskly, almost as briskly as Kira's tramp on the rocky bottom of the stream. At first I thought it was related to insufficient bleeding of the system, but after some time, when I managed to get a steady stream of water, I realized that the problem was with pump itself and the pressure it generates. So I decided to just fill our external water bag, in which we splash in the morning and evening when we do not have the opportunity to take a shower, or in which we simply wash our hands. And after several dozen minutes of fighting, this time not with the terrain but with additional equipment, we moved on.
Aici e pensiunea asta, uitați.
This nice gentleman picked up us from the forest road, which we were going to the next waypoint. As he was kind of a forest guard, we did not object when he instructed us to follow him. After a few kilometers, we stopped at the next entrance to the forest, where, after a long attempt to get along, it turned out that he had thought we were looking for a guest house and simply couldn't find it. And when I finally showed him where we wanted to get, he realized there had been a mistake and let us go. After turning off the DN-170 road, we followed the Isa stream heading south. Our goal was to get to the higher parts of the mountains, to the mountain meadows above 1600 meters, in the vicinity of the Batrana Peak, in the Bistrita, Nassau district. After a few kilometers of driving along forest gravel, when it seemed that nothing would stop us from setting up the camp in a dozen or so minutes, it turned out that the road suddenly ended in this place. Once again, we had to turn back. Which was, again, not easy with the 1.5 Defender wide trail, and once again, we had to look for a detour. Fortunately, Next decisions regarding picking up the right directions turned out to be proper. The road was climbing all the time. From time to time, the steep slopes or one on the other side of our car reminded us that we were going higher and higher, in case we accidentally missed it in the slowly falling darkness. And finally, when we reached a clearing emerging from the forest, I saw a barrier on the road, which, fortunately, was open. So we stayed there overnight. The cool and slightly rainy evening did not foretell a beautiful day, which welcomed us with warm rays of the sun breaking through the morning mist. And nothing foreshadowed the fact that after such a beautiful morning, we would have to face new challenges later in the day. But more on that in the next episode.